Hey y'all, welcome back to Restorooster OHV. Today we got something a little bit different. Today's going to be a repair video. I've gotten a bunch of questions lately on cylinder heads and having issues with the cam caps once they're torqued down properly, that the cams no longer spin. So this is something we're going to get into today. Stick around. All right, so what I have here is one of my subscribers sent me their cylinder head on a YZ250F. He's having an issue where once he tightens down the cam caps, the cam is binding. It's no longer spinning. This can certainly be an issue. And a few of the reasons that could cause this problem is, one, the cam cap at one point or another was over tightened. There was an issue with oil flow and it overheated and damaged the cam cap or the cylinder head, or your valve clearance is too tight. In other words, the camshaft is dragging on the valve lifter, causing the cam to drag a little bit. I haven't even opened this box yet. I don't know what his problem is. He did mention that he measured the valve clearances and they were okay, so we might be looking into getting into repairing this cylinder head. This is something you guys can do in your garage. Now I'm going to start right off by saying that the only proper way to fix this is to replace the cylinder head. So if you go online and check out your local parts diagrams, you're going to notice that the cam caps are not available separate. And the reason for that is that they are only available with the purchase of a cylinder head, and that's because from the factory they're line bored to the proper clearances and tolerances. So when you replace them, you're supposed to replace them together. Now, it doesn't mean that you can't get used cam caps, because it happens all the time, and I've used them many, many times. But the problem you're going to find is because they weren't bored with the cylinder head, you're probably going to have issues with the camshafts binding. Now, there are ways that we can remedy this so we can use our bike. But again, keep in mind that this is not the proper way to repair this cylinder head or cam cap. But anyway, let's get this box open and dig in and see what we're looking at. Now, I had sold him a cam cap and he put it on and said it didn't make any difference, which I told him right away that it may not. So he sent that back to me. Now, he said he did put all new valves in this, and well, so the story with this is that he had taken it apart himself. Apparently he was hearing a rattling in the engine, thought it was the valves, and it could have very well been. He replaced it with steel valves, and he also put in the proper valve springs. And putting it back together, he's running into this camshaft issue. So now, before we go any further, let me get these cam caps torqued down. I'm not really going to give you specs on this because obviously it's going to be different depending on the manufacturer. Let me just make mention, before we do this, we want to make sure that our cam lobes are not facing down into the valve. And the best way to do that would be to set up your timing marks. When your timing marks are proper, your cam lobes will look like this. All right. right, so we are torqued down. So my exhaust cam is free. My intake cam is bound up. First thing you want to do is go ahead and take a valve clearance measurement between the lobe of your camshaft and the valve buckets. And we're going to be looking for a minimum of 0.10 millimeter. And we have plenty of clearance there, so no issues with that. I'm going to go ahead and get this camshaft back out. Well, first thing you want to do is take a look at our cap and look at the journals and run your finger along the edge. This has a little bit, but if this is really mushroomed out on this side, this side, this side, or this side, it usually means that a lack of lubrication occurred and it's melted this aluminum. This one here looks okay. As does our camshaft. Now if you saw any like aluminum melted on here or sort of embedded in this, that's another indication obviously that we've got some head or cap damage. And then same thing here. You want to look at your journals and see if those are mushroomed out a little bit. And generally when that happens, it's very difficult to get these lifters out of here. But these look okay. So at this point here, I'm going to clean all of these journals up and get all the oil off of them, as well as the camshaft. Next, what I'm going to go ahead and do is use some of this Dicam layout fluid. And this is a stain everything fluid. And what we're going to do is I'm going to coat the camshaft journals with this. Now we're just going to go ahead and let that completely dry. Now that this is dried, let's go ahead and get our camshaft sitting back in the journals. Now, without even torquing this down, I can already feel it's dragging because of the clearance of just the fluid itself. So I'm going to go ahead and rotate this just a little bit, about 180 degrees. All right, we can take this back off and see where our rubbing is. Got a little bit in that area right there, a little bit right there. So if we see where we're having issues, it's rubbing off. It actually feels like it spins pretty good in the head, which is good. But we can see where it's You can see where the layout fluid has been rubbed off here and here. Although, like I said, I don't feel like it's in the head itself because this is spinning nice and free. It's going to be this cam cap. You can see we have some transfer. And that's going to be right there. So this cap here is damaged. And as soon as I put this cam in here, it's very difficult to turn. Now that we know where we're looking and that it's going to be in this cap, I'm going to clean this cap back up again, clean up this camshaft, and we're going to do the opposite. I'm going to put my layout fluid on my cap and try this again. This fluid will come right off with brake parts cleaner. Again, we're going to let that dry. Our layout fluid is dry. And let's redo this. She's turning, so we'll go ahead and torque these down until it tightens up. I just lightly tightened them up and it is dragging. So we'll do the same thing, about 180 degrees. The only wear I'm seeing is right there on that corner. It's a little bit right in here, but that's not bad. All right, so my first step to repair this, I'm going to use this 3-bladed knife. It's very sharp. And we're going to remove a little bit of material right here in this edge. I'll put the link to this down in the description. Now I'm going to use my Dremel with a Scotch-Brite just to soften this edge a little bit. Now I'm going to go ahead and recoat this and start all over again. See a spot right there and a spot right there. Now the trick with this is taking off as little material as possible and then rechecking and rechecking. I'm going to go ahead and use my Dremel to buff this entire piece out. Now this is a very, very fine Scotch-Brite, and we're going to start over again. So just lightly snugging this down. It's already starting to move a little bit better here. But I'm sure it'll tighten up again once we torque it. But now I can actually move it with my fingers. See right where it's dragging. Now, once our cam is spinning free, we'll polish these journals up real well to get the scratches out of it. And we'll go ahead and clean it up, put some lubrication on it, torque it back down, and make sure that we're still clear. So now, as you can see, both of our cams are spinning nice and free. All I need to do is get this thing shimmed properly and get it shipped back to my customer. Now keep in mind, like I said, this is not a substitution for replacing the cylinder head. This is just going to buy you a little bit more time on your cylinder head, and this will work perfectly fine. I've done it 1,000 times. So anyway, I hope this helped you out, explain a little bit how I do this procedure. Thank you guys very much for your subscriptions, likes, comments, thumbs up, and shares. Don't forget to get your Restorooster merch. The link will be down in the description. Again, thanks, and we'll see you on the next one.